Hello, welcome to the Villages, Florida. My name is David. I'm a realtor with Florida Realty Investments, and every week I take a look at the real estate market in Central Florida, specifically the Villages, which, if you don't know, is primarily a 55 or older community with championship golf courses and executive golf courses, entertainment every night of the week at 4 town squares, recreation, shopping, dining, and over 3,000 clubs. If you're looking for a resort lifestyle in retirement, then the Villages is certainly a choice to consider. And if you want to know what's happening in the real estate market here, this is the show for you. We'll give you a long term perspective on trends in prices, prices per square foot, where homes are selling, where activity is in the different regions of the Villages, and I've divided it into 4 different geographical areas and we will compare them. This is the show for you if you want to be informed. And a couple of things I'd like to note. First, the Villages has 2 distinct real estate marketplaces, the VLS and the MLS. The MLS is the same market you're familiar with from other areas of the country, the multiple listing service. The Villages has its own internal marketplace, the VLS, which is the only place you will find new properties listed, but pre-owned homes are on both the VLS and the MLS. And a point to note, if you're a buyer and you only have a VLS broker or you only have an MLS broker, you will not be seeing everything for sale here. Similarly, if you're a seller, you need to decide whether you're going to list on MLS or on VLS. All of the information I present is drawn from the MLS, not the VLS, and we produce this show every week, so make sure you check the date to ensure you're getting the most recent information. If you find the information valuable, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And if you need to reach me, I can be reached either at DavidisinFlorida.com or DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. If you're a buyer and you're trying to find a good deal, I think you'll find that our data-driven approach will give you confidence that you're getting a good deal. And if you're a seller, I think you'll find that our data-driven approach will give you confidence that the asking price you have chosen is the correct one. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at what's happening this week. Previously, we would look at the yield on the US 10-year note to follow interest rates on mortgages, but I've decided to move directly to a mortgage rate chart, giving you an idea as to the short-term direction for loans. Currently, a 30-year fixed with a 7 to 720 credit score on a $300,000 house is available at just under 7%. We'll have to see if these lower rates, and they are down by about 1.5% over the last several months, we'll have to see if this does unfreeze the real estate market nationwide. I've added something new this week for those of you who hate realtors. This is the number of full-time real estate agents and brokers in the US, and you can see that ever since the pandemic, the number has really been falling. It's down by about 10% already in terms of the number of agents. One would think that with the recent ruling against the National Association of Realtors, that the number of real estate agents will continue to drop. And I would point out that at a time like this, having a realtor who really can go the extra mile in terms of providing data to justify any pricing decisions you're making might be worth more than before. So now let's zoom in on the Villages. For those of you who are not familiar with where it is, I'm starting with a map of Florida and zooming in on Central Florida. You can see that the Villages is in Central Florida, about an hour north of Orlando. The map that you're looking at is showing all active listings in the Villages currently. The size of the dot represents the size of the home. There are 5 different sizes of dot, and the color of the dot represents its price per square foot. Also 5 different gradients of color here. The lighter the circle, the more expensive per square foot. The larger the circle, the larger the home. I've zoomed in to the Lake Sumter area, and I'm going to switch back and forth between a map that's showing you houses with size and price and a map showing you the same houses, but this time size and price per square foot. Using a tool like this, you can see that properties that seem like a deal are much more readily apparent. Here we're looking at a long-term chart. This goes back to April 4th of 2022. This is showing you the total number of listings in the Villages MLS system. This week it's 499. That early print that you see, April 4th of 2022, there were only 108 properties on the MLS then. Here I've just focused on the last year. We're looking at number of listings again. This week there were 499. Last week there were 484. A year ago there were only 298. Currently homes in the villages range from 110,000, same price it was originally listed at, and the most expensive home on the MLS currently 2,899,000, reduced from 2,950. We're still focusing on the entirety of the villages, and we're looking at what the median list price is for all of those listings. This week it's 259.32 a foot. Last week it was 258.41. A year ago it was 259.89. The lowest reading that we've seen has been 257.89. Last chart before we start looking at the differences between the regions and the villages. Here we're looking at the median time on the market for all listings. This week we're still elevated at 59 days. Last week it was 62. A year ago it was 51. So now let me show you how I've divided the villages geographically so we can compare the different regions. I've divided it into the north, which is everything south of 42 and north of 466. The mid-north, which is everything south of 466 and north of 466A. Once again, these maps are showing you all active listings with the size of the circle representing the size of the home and the color representing its price per square foot. Larger the circle, larger the home, brighter the color, more per square foot. This is the area that I'm calling the Mid-South, which is everything south of 466A and north of 44. And this is the area that I'm calling the South, which is everything south of 44. And for those who haven't noticed recently, a lot more homes are showing up on the resale market in the South now. Here I'm going to show you a series of maps, and it's going to indicate to you where homes are at what price range. I'm going to start with homes under 100,000, of which there are none. Under 200,000, there are 9. 2 to 300,000, there are 78. 3 to 400, these 186 homes. 400 to 500, these 129 homes. 500 to 600, 47 homes. 600 to 700,000, 19 homes on the MLS. 700 to 800,000, 15 homes. 800,000 to 900,000, these 5 homes. 900,000 to $1 million, these 4 homes, all of which are in the Mid-South. And finally, these are the 7 homes in the Villages MLS that are currently offered at over $1 million. So now that I've shown you how I've broken the villages down into 4 regions, let's take a look at how they compare. I'm going to start with the villages as a whole. 499 active listings, smallest home currently offered 828 square feet, largest 4,216. Price per square foot in the villages MLS currently ranges from $65 a foot to $776 a foot, and prices in the villages from 110,000 to just under 2,900,000. This is the north area in the MLS, by far the most active region. 212 current listings ranging in size from 840 square feet to 2687. Prices from 135,000 to 850, and per foot ranging from 104 to 399. This is the mid-north, currently 147 active listings, size ranging from 1,090 square feet to 4216. Prices from 110,000 to $1,195,000, and price per square foot ranging from $65 a square foot to $476 a square foot. This is the Mid-South, 64 active listings, sizes ranging from 1,156 square feet to 3,875. Price per square foot, the lowest in the Mid-South, $225, highest $776, and prices ranging from $280,000 to just under $2,900,000. And finally, this is the South, 76 active listings, sizes ranging from 828 square feet to 2,116, per foot ranging from 229 to 410. Prices in the South currently range from 255,000 to just under 800,000. So now let's take a look at what's changed over the last week. These are the number of new listings and number of homes that went pending last week. The figures you see are actual numbers. The graph is a 4-week average. This week, 47 new listings and only 31 homes going pending. Last week, 43 new listings and 33 homes going pending. A year ago, 37 new listings and 31 homes going pending. We think keeping track of this metric gives you a very good idea as to whether inventory is being added or leaving the market. Obviously, more pending home sales than new listings would help the market to strengthen. And if there are more new listings than pending home sales, you would think sellers would feel pressure. The previous chart gives rise to this one. This is the difference between new listings and pending home sales. This week it's a negative 16 more homes being listed and going pending. The previous week, it was 10 more homes being listed. A year ago, it was 6 more homes being listed. It will be interesting to see what happens here because from now through November or so, I would expect the market to continue to slow. So let's take a closer look at the homes that went pending last week. They went pending at a median 259.52 a foot. Previous week, it was 263.20 a foot. A year ago, it was 265.04 a foot. This is an interesting data point this week. We're looking at what the price reduction was for the homes that went pending last week, and it was a median 6.76% reduction from the original list price, much worse than the previous week's 5.64% reduction and the previous year's 5.61% reduction. We're getting close to the worst levels we've seen. So now let's look at the homes that sold and closed last week. They numbered 27, previous week 23, the previous year 34. Last week the homes that closed ranged in price from 235,000, a reduction of 4% from 245, to the most expensive home closing last week was 1,325,000, reduced by 3.5% from 1,375,000. So we're going to dive into sales for a second longer. First, we're going to compare how sales this year are comparing to sales of previous years. This year, 27 sales last week. 2023, the same week, there were 34. I don't have a data point for 2022, but as you look at this graph, it seems clear that for the next 2 months or so, we would expect activity to continue to get slower. And what does that mean for inventory? Here we keep track of weeks of inventory, which is just listings divided by sales. This week, 18 and a half weeks. Last week, 21 weeks. A year ago, it was only 8 weeks. So let's look at all listings again, and here we're looking at what percentage have reduced their asking price from the original list price. Currently, 51.9% of listings have. Last week, 52.07. A year ago, 55.5% of listings had been reduced. And here we look at what the actual median reduction for all listings is. This week, 4.23% from the original listing price. Last week, 4.47. A year ago, 4.41. If you're a buyer and you're trying to find a good deal in the villages, please consider reaching out to me at DavidisinFlorida.com or DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. I'll be happy to help you find the deal here in the villages that you're looking for. And if you're a seller, please reach out to me. I will be happy to show you how you can justify the highest reasonable asking price. Once again, DavidisinFlorida.com or DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions about life in Florida or life in the villages. I hope to hear from you. Take care.